The top 5 of Steve Gadd records. Hi everybody, rubenvanroon drum channel again, and today we're gonna do something special. You see here a part of my record collection, and these 2 boxes, these are the only records where Steve Gadd is involved in. What I was thinking is from I don't know how much records, maybe 200 or 150 records, I'm gonna pick a top 5 today. So that's gonna be really hard, but I think it's nice to do. And I'm gonna share some really exceptional records with you. And maybe it inspires you to listen to other things of Mr. Steve Gadd than Aja, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Late in the Evening, or the Leprechaun. I think this is a very small collection, because if you want to have all the records where Steve Gadd is playing on, then I think you have to have 1,000 records. That is this whole thing and much more. So it's a small part. It's of course my favorite record collection. For me, it's really important that the music is also great. So I'm not a drummer who only listens to the drummer. These are also musically one of my favorite records. That's for me the same. The top 5 of Steve Gadd records. The Steve Gadd records. Let's start with the first. It's really nice. I have no idea what I'm picking up. Here, Patrick Williams, the New York band, 10th Avenue. There's one song on it, 10th Avenue. It's with Nathan East, all the Cats, Richard T. And what I, of course, loved for me is the passion is that the only pictures I saw of Mr. Steve Gadd were on this record, you know. You see here an amazing picture. And when I listened to the records, I was only watching to the pictures and to all the liner notes. They say to me always, "Oh, Ruben is the music professor," because I know all the lineups. I know who recorded it, who mixed it. I was only watching the sleeves and the inner sleeves and everything. So that's a great record, but not in my top 5. Brecker Brothers Band, because here you see a very young Chris Parker, of course, and Chris Parker was, of course, the other drummer of Stuff. So in the Brecker Brothers Band, they shared also a little bit but it's not in the top 5. Very rare. The first, the Steps record. So they have the Smoking in the Pit and live record, and this was the studio record. A great record, Japanese, and in that time there was hardly, if you have a Japanese, it was so expensive in Holland. But this outfit, you know, with the body thing and the big sweater, it was for me. I want to look like that, you know. So you see all the Cats there: Don Grolnick, Mike Brecker, of course, Eddie Gomez, Mike Manieri. It's a great album, but it's not in the top 5 for me. Lee Rittenhauer, Captain Journey, man. Oh, yeah. Morning Glory, Sugarloaf Express. This is really 78, you know, with Abe Laboriel, the bass, and it's an amazing record, but not in the top 5. Again, I think this one gets in the top 5 because this is the first record I bought of Steve Gadd. Tom Scott, Apple Juice. I have a complete a video that I'm going in depth in this record, because also with this great drum solo on it, the amazing drum solo on the last tune, Instant Relief. And somebody sent me a transcription of that drum solo. And you see the amazing t-shirts Steve Gadd is wearing, and man, it's a mystical photo because you see all the mic stands and behind that you see Steve Gadd. But this one I bought when I was 11 years old, I think. Only played it. All the tunes, singing with it, man. Apple Juice, so white and so funky, with the great Dr. John. The lyrican solos of Tom Scott, I could dream them, man. And Marcus Miller's bass solo. This one is sure in the top 5, man. This is really nice. These are really hidden treasures in the Japanese market. Teru Masahino and the great Inner Sleeve again, you know. Oh, what a nice picture of Steve Gadd. I will show you the picture, man. Oh, what are that for drum heads? Oh, that are Evan drum heads. That was how you got the knowledge of what he was doing. But it's a very nice fusion album, and there are a lot of this kind of albums. The Japanese guys came to New York to record with the Gadds. There was such a big Japanese market, and Steve Gadd was really a superhero in Japan, of course, but not in the top 5. Okay, this one could be in the top 5 because it's one of my favorite records, but Steve Gadd has a very small part on it. Chris Parker has a bigger part on it, but he plays in How the Garden Grows a couple of songs who are great, but it's a great album. Michael Franks, man. So not in the top 5. Here again, this is a trombone player, so he was the trumpet player. Also a Japanese guy, Shigehara Mukai. Also with the same label, I think. And an amazing Inner Sleeve with, again, a very mystical, dark photo of Mr. Steve Gadd. So you don't see the drum set at all, but it's also a very nice fusion album made in New York. Here again one Japanese record, very nice record, Teruyo Nakamura. Amazing. The big star in Japanese, Sadao Watanabe, Rendezvous. Man, it's a great album. A couple of Sada and Watanabe records. Morning Island. Also with a great Inner Sleeve. And this picture I like very much. He's really in the groove. The Japanese fusion thing was really going on. Do you know that I had a radio program 2 years ago? I only played Steve Gadd albums. Nobody listened to it, but it was a nice idea. This one, the Sana Watanabe Live, is really awesome. There are video on YouTube. You can see the concert with video footage. Man, you really have to see that. It's Steve Gadd is with a sunglass and he plays there. He did that for 1 year. With 3 toms, 8. There is an 8-inch tom also in front. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So that is really special. Tom Scott, Intimate Strangers. It's of the series of the Tom Scott, but we have already the Apple Juice album. This is a really important album for me because this was also one of the first things I heard of Steve Gadd. Spain. And on it. And there's a great story. I have an interview with the producer of this album because he's my favorite producer, Jay Graydon. He produced it, he co-wrote the songs, he recorded it, he mixed it. He's a genius, man. And he told the great story about Spain. Al Jarreau wanted to record it with Steve Gadd, Stanley Clarke, and Chick Corea. And they came in the studio and they were a little bit arrogant. Jay Graydon told me, because they didn't know who Jay Graydon was. And they were more the jazz cats, and Jay Graydon was more the commercial guy. And they start to play Spain, and Jay Graydon asked Stanley Clarke, can you tune a little bit better? And Stanley Clarke was really like, who are you? And Chick Corea had a Rhodes with him with an effect on it, with a lot of noise. And Jay Graydon asked, maybe you can put that not in between because I have too much. And he said, no, I have to do it like this. So they played, and Jay Graydon was really like, okay. And Steve Gadd was drumming, and he only used the drum track of Steve Gadd. And the next day he called Larry Williams to play the keyboard part on it, and Abe Laborio for the bass part. And it's a magical Steve Gadd drum part. And it's not only Spain. Distracted is also and Your Sweet Love. There are 3 tracks on it where he is drumming and with the great Great sound. Very rare. Let's pretend that's from High Crime. Nothing to do with Steve Gadd. But I Keep Calling. That was for the El Giro album. A kind of rip-off of Roof Garden. Same feel, same groove. Only on this thing. Okay, now we're gonna in the top 10 first. Giro. El Giro. Jay Graydon Productions. Morning, it's not Steve Gadd. Jeff Porcaro, amazing. Halftime Shuffle, but the rest is Steve Gadd. Save Me. Oh man. Love is Waiting. Black and Blues. Step by Step. Amazing grooves. David Sanborn. Oh, that's hard. Oh, he's playing amazing on this one. So funky. But not in the top 10. Tania Maria, very small, very nice album, but it's not only Steve Gadd. My other unknown hero, man, Buddy Williams. Buddy Williams, man. There are a couple of drummers who didn't get the recognition they deserved. I have 4 of them. Buddy Williams, Ed Green, Ricky Wellman, the last drummer of Miles Davis, and Jørn Christensen of Norway. Gab Mancioni, very old, one of the first records of Steve Gadd, the brother of Chuck Mancioni. Richard T, it's his brother in arms. Neil Larson, Higher Ground. Oh man, Tommy Lipuma production. Chuck Mancioni alive. That is one of his first. He went on tour in Europe for the first time with Chuck Mancioni. You can see that on my channel, a couple of footage of the Montreux Jazz Festival. And Steve Gadd is playing here his final exam song from his high school. And there's that great 12/8 drum solo on it. Ooh, Michel Colombier. Steve Gadd and Jacob Pastorius together in the top 10. This album, man. Michel Colombier is a French film composer, but it's also with Peter Erskine and Herbie Hancock. Ayrton Moreira, Ray Parker Jr., Lee Rittenauer, Tom Scott, Larry Carlton, Mike Brecker, Michael Boddicker. Yeah, this has to be in the top 5, I think. Warren Bernard just passed away, I think. Very oldie, Maynard Ferguson, one of his first. 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. But not in the top 5. Eric Gale. Albums. LA Is My Lady. Quincy Jones, after Michael Jackson's Thriller, with Frank. But Steve Gadd is only on drumming on one track. LA Is My Lady. It's an amazing track, but because it's one track, it's not on my top 5. Mike Magneri, Love Play. This one is the Bible for me. My friend Gerben de Bruin bought this one. I think he paid $100 for it in that time for a record, or 150 because it was Japanese import. But this record, Jun Fukumachi and the New York All-Stars live with the great drum solo on Love Play with that phaser on it. I don't know who thought of that, but it's a great effect. And of course, only Japanese, but rocks with the Brecker brothers, David Sanborn. Oh man, all the songs are incredible, powerful drum. So in front, so aggressively drummed by Steve Gadd. That is definitely going in my top 5. Dave Liebman with Steve Gadd and Marcus Miller in the 80s. I did some concerts with Dave Liebman. He's a great promoter for the jazz and education. I met him on the conservatory, and I was a big fan of him because for me the Miles Davis Electric Period is also one of my favorite things. And he played with Miles Davis, and I asked him a lot of questions, and he told me a lot of stories, and he sent me some bootleg tapes. In that time, it was really rare of concerts with Miles Davis. Dave Liebman, the king. Spyro Gyra, really commercial, elevator music, but great. This album, that was the second album I bought with Steve Gadd on it. Spyro Gyra, I was such a fan of Spyro Gyra, and Cassiopeia, of course. Mark Colby, a saxophone player, 2 albums. This one is a hard period for me, and I don't understand a couple of things. I always say Al Di Meola, but that's not his name. Al Di Meola It's not really my thing. What's so rare is there are some footage of this concert, and he plays a Ludwig drum set. The drum solos are great, but the music, again... Oh yeah, this one. Do you know that Steve Gadd is drumming on Could It Be Magic? One of his first studio recordings. Listen to it again, man. The ending with the fills and everything. Baby, I'm yeah. Whoa. Steve Gadd, movie actor. It's incredible. When I saw that, man, I saw that very late in the evening. I saw that a couple of years ago, and they're sitting in the bus, and he has to really act. But the live footage, yeah, this has to be in the top 10. And then this also, the Center Park concert, yeah. He has that great Yamaha jacket on, man. And then 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. But not in my top 10. Grover, but not the Grover who's coming in my top 5. But Come Morning is a great album. Roberta Fleck, I'm the One, with Ralph McDonald as the production man, you know. Stuff with Joe Cocker. The disco thing, man. The hustle, everything. Nobody knows that Steve Gadd was with the guys from McCoy. He played on a lot of great disco tracks in the 70s, together with, of course, Rick Marotta. Very bad heard version of Eddie Gomez record, but there is such a nice song on it, Delgado, with Mike Brecker on EY. Stanley Clarke, School Days, Silly Putty, Stanley Clarke, Journey of Love. This one, Japanese version, Jorge Dalto, with the great Manteca. And Steve Gadd without a beard. That's weird. This one is so commercial, but so good. The old Warwick Heartbreaker. Oh man. There's another one who comes in the top 10. John Faddis. Yeah, that's a nice record. John Faddis in the 70s, late 70s, 79. It's a very rare album, Chris Parker. And I hate when there are in records, they don't say which track the one is drumming and the other is drumming. You know, that I have that same problem with that Christopher Cross album. So then I don't know which song, you know, Chris Parker and Steve Gadd. It's really hard to hear the difference, I think. Also one of his first recordings, Jazz Bill Waitress combo. A trombone player. What's this? Joe Farrell, of course, from his first Return to Forever period. But Guilty is so... the groove of Guilty. Man, I have to do it in the top 10. Only one song, but Guilty is a masterpiece, man. Oh, the Hank Crawford albums. CTI. Man, Steve Gadd did so much CTI record dates with Chet Baker, Jim Hall, with Ron Carter together, and also with Hank Crawford. The George Benson things. This one is such a nice album. In Your Eyes. Tommy Lee Puma again. Oh, this is a special one. Steve Gadd and Prince. Steve Gadd and Prince. Do you know that Steve Gadd plays on a Prince record? Yes, he does. Jill Jones. Mia Bocca. It's with amazing arrangements of Claire Fisher. A lot of DMA Dola records he played on. Oh, this record we had at home. I listened to this from my 7, 8 years old. Phoebe Snow, Second Childhood. There are some with Tony Levin, really the begin period of his studio thing. It's really a record mess. All right, Tom Scott and the New York Connection. Yeah, Dirty Old Man. Midtown Rush, a video about Midtown Rush here. Has to be in the top 10. CTI again with George Benson, Take 5. Amazing nice record, the early days. Very young George Benson. Oh yes, of course, Bob James. The Bob Jameses. Bob James, there are a lot of Bob James records. Bob James 1, Bob James 2. Ooh, that's really nice. Oh, this one, Bob James 4, man. With, oh, that is Gary King, Eric Gill. You three have to check this one out. But you have to check them all out. And they say always, oh yeah, Steve Gadd, Aja. This is, I think, 20% of his recordings. Jeremy Steik, Firefly, CTI, all the CTI things, Hank Crawford again, Art Farmer, Joe Henderson, a really weird album. Joe Farrell, great album also. So this is all the CTI things, man. Art Farmer, also a CTI thing. This one is very special. Hubert Laws. Oh man, jazz. Man, Steve Gadd is my favorite jazz drummer. With Jørgen Christensen. And Jack DeJohnette. Okay. And Tony Williams. Yeah. I get goosebumps. Yeah, this has to be in the top 10. Steve Gadd plays Autumn Leaves. Check that out. Mel Jackson, the vibraphone player. Steve Gadd, Herbie Hancock, and Billy Cobham opens the funk. Yeah, man. Top 5 material. Klaus Ogerman. Oh, man. Michael Brecker, Marcus Miller, Steve Gadd. I start crying almost. Nightwings, beautiful song, but that song that this is for sure in the top 10. Just the two of us. This was also one of my father bought the cassette tape for the car for this album. Yeah, man, Ralph McDonald. And this recording has the best bass drum sound ever. This recording has the best bass drum sound ever. Ever. That's my point. In the top 5. Maybe on number 1. We don't know yet. Smoking in the Pit. T-Bag. Smoking in the Pit. For sure in the top 5. Hey, James Taylor. Another era. Christmas. Always when it's Christmas. James Taylor. With a very funky Jingle Bells. Jingle Bells. Blieger Hammerget. Of course. It's what he's with touring now with these two groups. Check it out. They're coming tours. They come to Holland. I have them all, of course, because I want to support them. They're, I think, very nice guys. So go to the concert when you're in Europe. October Road, of course. Michael Franks, is he drumming on this? John Guering is drumming. And that was the Steve Gadd before Steve Gadd was there. Peter Erskine, is he drumming on this one? John Guering? Because he's in my Steve Gadd. Finico Utah? No way, man. This one is also When She's Mine, but it's one of my favorite albums, but it's too less. There's one song with Steve Gadd. This is, of course, the Steve Gadd Michael Franks album. This is one great. When the cookie jar is empty. In the top 10, for sure. But I have now more records than the top 10. That's a little problem, I think. I always thought that this was Steve Gadd on drums. Oh man, he's playing so well on baseball. Rick Marotta. It's Rick Marotta. Bob James and David Sanborn. Maputo. Ooh, no. Touchdown. Bob James. Very young Steve Gadd on it. Ooh, no. Here's that Christopher Cross. I cannot put it because I still don't know who Jeff O'Caro is on it. I think Ed Green is on it. But who's playing which song? I don't know, man. Oh, Hats of Bob James. Yeah, that's a top 10er, I think. But we are now in the top 20 already. Ludwig, one song. Jogie Horton, the other songs. It's a classic, but for one song, it's a little bit too... again, a great Tom Scott album with Steve Gadd. All the Tom Scott albums with Steve Gadd, you have to check them out. They're amazing. But we have already a Tom Scott. James Taylor, very nice record. Do you know Mr. Chicoria? We have now the Chicoria. We have to put one Chicoria in it. I know already which one. Spanish Heart, amazing. The Leprechaun. No, that's not coming in the top 10 for me. But of course, a classic. The Mad Hatter is the album with Herbie Hancock and Chicoria on it. Friends, of course, with the great drum solos on it. And now, in the top 5, the Three Quartets. The jazz album with Smoking in the Pit. This is so deep. It has to be in the top 5. Carly Simon with the great on Memorial Day drum solo on it. On a pop record again, a drum solo. Chucky is in love. One of his famous breaks, and I have a tutorial, of course, about this song. For me, what's the amazing thing is it's triplet field song, a shuffle kind of ternary song, and he plays, of course, the flutter lick in it, and that counterpoint, you know, that contrast. It's really Steve Gadd's secret. It's really also a jazz secret, you know, to really fight with the ternary feel of the jazz and do the binary things against it. You know, I'm always interested in how did he invent it or compose that drum part. Chucky is in love. It's a memorial tune, but not in the top 10. Stuff, man. Stuff. Yeah, that's hard, man. I put it here, but I have too much records because here Dave Cruson, Let's Train to Paradiso with that Five Brothers has that amazing jazz solo on it. I see still the Evans hydraulics on his drum set. So, yeah, not in the top. Yeah, in the top 10. Do you know this record? This one, I have a great story here of this record with the Wendell machine. Okay, a top 5 album. A top 5 album again. Everybody knows 7 Steps to Heaven. And everybody's talking about 7 Steps to Heaven from this album. Ben Sidran, Cat in the Hat. But man, the other tunes. High Fly. You really have to listen to High Fly. There is a bass drum part on High Fly where Steve Gadd plays 7 and 9 and 11 stroke rolls with his bass drum foot. And it's so musical. I think for me, this gotta be maybe the number 1. Minority, Blue Daniel, Girl Talk, Give It to the Kids. Give It to the Kids. And everybody is again talking about the 7 Steps to Heaven song with the drum solo, the jazz. And it's a nice story because it was really hard to play that because you have to overpower Tony Williams' version, of course. And Steve Gadd completely goes his own ways. It's brilliant, but High Fly, man. That bass drum pattern and the funk in this album. Oh, there's too many, man. John Tropia albums. Yeah, what can I say, man? Double drumming. Steve Gadd did a couple of double drumming things, of course, with Chris Parker and stuff, but this double drumming with Rick Marotta. Genius by John Tropia that he put that 2 drummers together. And then on the left and on the right, you know, Can't Hide Love, man. The ending of Can't Hide Love. Check it out with the breaks over the bar. Maybe the first one. Yeah, with Stephen Gadd. I think we take the first one. The Brecker Brothers, Die Tente. It's not all Steve Gadd. Don't get funny with my money. You got to give it. It's so funky, man. It's really Steve Gadd funkiness at the most. Oh, Dionne Warwick, Jay Graydon production. Also Can't Hide Love. It's one of my favorite Jay Graydon productions. Oh, yeah, man, there's too much, man. Dave Cruson and the New York LA Dream Band. It's also on YouTube. Yeah, this isn't a top 5 album for me. Shuffle City, 3 Days of a Condor. How he drums that one, man. Yeah, this has to be. Okay, new album, Chicoria, The Gadd Gang. The Shuffle. Watching the river flow way back home. Yeah. Okay, I have 30 albums here for top 10, for top 5. This one, the first solo record of Steve Gadd in the 80s. That's a brilliant album. Get About. The Duke. We're gonna put that here in the top 10. What now? Top 40, I think. Yeah, Stuff. Again, we were so into the Stuff band, but yeah, we have too much records, so I have to make some very hard decisions over here. I don't know. Oh, Stuff Live, man. Ooh, it's great drum solos on it. This one, the Dave Matthews Grand Cross with Afro sax on it. Marcus Miller. And my favorite Steve Gadd photo ever. In the green t-shirt. Smoking. That's not so good, Mr. Gadd, but oh wow. And the mics. I was always checking the mics. Oh, and Marcus Miller. There was a time that Weather Report searched for a new drummer, so they thought we're gonna make a record, and that's also the auditioning tape for the drummers. So they called Tony Williams, Steve Gadd, and Peter Erskine. It's amazing that Steve Gadd is playing on a Weather Report album on 2 songs, and then with Maurice White, and of course the Young and Fine tune. Steve Kahn, a couple of very fusion-esque jazz rocky albums. It is a free albums I think Steve Gadd is playing on, with a lot of very difficult tunes and drum solos and weird grooves and odd meters. Oh, yes, man. Quincy wanted to have the New York rhythm section on one album. Stuff like that. Love Me by Name. But that's not with drumming, but that's one of the most beautiful songs ever written and orchestrated. Patty Austin is singing on it beautifully. Tell Me a Bedtime Story, the great Herbie Hancock tune, Superwoman. Take it to the streets. But stuff like that, it's not like it's yeah. Ralph McDonald, Steve Gadd, Anthony Jackson, Eric Gill, Richard T, Wawa Watson. Wawa Watson. One of Quincy's best records, I think. But he made a lot of bad records. But not in the top 10. Hideaway, David Sanborn, Ralph McDonald. There's a Facebook group now, Ralph McDonald Appreciation Group. Check it out. The violin, Noel Porter. I don't like the violin sound so much, but the grooves are amazing. Oh, yeah. I think it's this one. Modai is such incredible drum part. Smile again, hold me in your arms. Jay Graydon again, Manhattan Transfer, On the Boulevard. Yeah, that's really special for me, so because that's also one of the first I heard. But it's not all Steve Gadd, but Smile Again, it's a ballad. It's the best ballad drumming ever, with the great fills and yeah, Smile Again, man. Lee Rittenhauer, French Toast, Feel the Night, but it's not all Steve Gadd, I think. It's Steve Gadd. It's all Steve Gadd. I don't know how much records I have now for the final. So I think the top 5 is a little bit too positive. We have to make it the top 10, otherwise cannot make the right choices for you. Okay, and this is not all the records of Steve Gadd. 20% of all his records. All right, man, this is the hardest part. This one. Okay, Grover Washington Jr. has to be in it. Klaus Ogerman has to be in it. Okay, Chet Baker, sorry. It's beautiful, but the New York Connection. I have to choose between Apple Juice and the New York Connection. This is better, but the new Apple Juice is with the drum solo. This is only Guilty. One song, yeah, he drums on more songs, but the rest I don't. But Guilty is amazing. But One Trick Pony, the movie is great. See the movie, yes. It's also my taste, of course, of records. It's just a silly game. Yes. No. It's really great. I missed the most important record. I have to get it. That's my number 1. I don't have my number 1 here. It's in my other room. Apple Juice goes in it. Lee Rittenhauer. It's a great album. Smile Again. Yeah, we have to think about it. It's a solo record, but no. Ooh, that's hard, man. That's a hard choice. Get Gang. We have to, because this one has to be in it for me. This, of course, has to be in it. This one has to be in it. This one has to be in it. Yeah, and then an Al Jarreau. So, at our hard choices, we have to make hard choices here. Does anyone want to go watch something? It was a hit in Holland. It went on number 3, and I was, it's 1981. So I was 10 years old, and I heard that drum breaks, man. On number 10, Michel Colombier, because it's not all Steve Gadd. That's on number 10. On number 9, we have Klaus Ogerman with Michael Brecker. Oh man. Al Schmid. On number 8, Dave Grusin and New York LA Dream Band. Grover Washington Jr. and Wine Light with the most beautiful bass drum sound ever. On number 6, Chicoria, the Three Quartets jazz album, the best jazz album Steve Gadd was playing on, with the amazing drum solo. On number 5, Smoking in the Pit. My brother bought this album when it came out. That was the first time I really saw the drum kit, and man, jazz on a recording custom with hydraulic skins. You playing in mud. It's so hard to play light and freely on that. Then your technique has to be of the highest order. And how musical he is, and how Michael Brecker and Steve Gadd goes really through the roof together. 4, Al Jarreau with the great Let For Me. The Aja 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover tune is for me Roof Garden. It's so underestimated, but how that grooves with that simple groove and all that super musical breaks in it. It's a jam, man. It's just a jam, but so musical. The top 3 of my favorite Steve Gadd albums. John Fukumachi, Jun Fukumachi, with the New York All-Stars live with the great drum solo with the phaser on it, but all these tunes are incredible. Number 2. Yeah. On number 2, Ben Cedron, Cat in the Hat. Tears in my eyes when I'm thinking of this record. It's grooving. It is one of the most grooving records ever. And on number 1, sorry guys, but it's the first record I bought of Mr. Steve Gadd. But the playing with Richard T., Eric Gill, Hugh McCracken, Dr. John, Marcus Miller, who was playing with Miles Davis in this time, man. Young Marcus Miller. And Steve Gadd drum solo on it. And Ralph McDonald. Tom Scott. Okay guys, I hope you like this one. Please leave in the comments what you think about it, because you have totally another opinion than my opinion, I think. And that's good, because there's nothing you can argue about as taste. So it's just my taste. But the message of this video was there is a little bit more than Aja and 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover and The Leprechaun. Please, I'm gonna beg you, but leave a comment or something, because that's what makes the algorithms going higher. And I'm doing this out of love. We see each other next time. Thank you for your attention. Steve Gadd.